on this busy Saturday morning. It's so nice to see everybody here. I'm going to hand it over to our board president, Jo-Ann Robotti, and she will introduce our guests today. And again, any questions that you have, these guys are the experts and they can answer those questions or concerns you might have.
Before Terry steps away, I just want to say this is her anniversary. She's been with us for 8 years as a when she was hired. She had a choice between starting on April 1st, April Fool's Day, or April 15th, Tax Day, and we decided in the great scope of events, Tax Day. But thank you. So, as I'm sure many of you know, because there's lots of familiar faces here, this little library is used by literally hundreds of Shelter Islanders every week, which is kind of hard to believe, but, and it's now bursting at the seams. People come in to socialize. In the summer, it's a cool place. In the winter, it's a warm place. They check out items ranging from traditional books and DVDs to cake pans and badminton sets from our library of things. They come in to read the paper or the latest magazines, or to use our office equipment. The list of why they come to the library gets longer all the time. So this room alone, when it was renovated, was, we thought, the state of the art compared to what the old room was. We use it for great decisions, for Friday night dialogues, for after-school programs, for board meetings, for community meetings, book clubs. It's in constant use. In fact, it's not unusual on a particularly busy week when this room is occupied to see people meeting in one of our 2 vestibules. The Mahjong group meets there on a regular basis.
Silver Beach is meeting there.
What?
Silver Beach is meeting there.
Well, they're meeting in the bookstore. So while we have up-to-date air cleaners that we put in when COVID started, as you can see, there is nary a window to be opened in here, which is a big detriment, we feel, in this day and age. And among our most pressing issues, of course, is our cramped children's area. We have toddlers and newborns literally sitting cheek by jowl with junior and senior high school students. And woe be the patron of any age who comes here looking for a quiet space to read or to work, because there just ain't none to be found. The first floor is a hive of activity. In addition to the more traditional library activities, we have patrons using the copier, the printer, the scanner. We're the only place on the island where they have access to that kind of equipment. The tiny back office where Terry and Laura live is also our IT center, and it's a place where we do passport applications and we process all our new acquisitions, as there's just 3 of the important functions that happen in that very cramped little area. So basically we have a 60-plus-year-old building. This building was built in 1963, trying to function in a 21st century environment. Our proposed solution, as the gentleman will tell you, is to renovate this existing space and expand across the 2 levels to create 10,000 square feet of space in total, while also making the building more environmentally friendly and more energy efficient. So the result, we hope, we believe, will be a library that not only serves Shelter Island's current needs, but will be flexibly configured to meet the needs of the future community. So the architects from Beatty, Harvey, and our construction manager from Park East will take you through the details of the proposal. We welcome all and any of your comments. And it's important that this design that you're going to see them present is not cast in stone. Once we have a positive vote on June 17th, it'll be fine-tuned before it goes out to bid. So please welcome Chris Sepp from Beatty, Harvey, Coco, and Derek Knatz from Park East. And thank you again for coming.
Good morning. Thanks for coming out. Today we wanted to review with you, as we were saying, is what our challenges are here that are existing, and 2 is how we're looking to resolve these challenges for your library. And like we were saying, it's not set in stone, but it's something for everybody to respond to. We're looking for your input from the community so that we can help design this to the best condition it can possibly be in. Let's see. Is that the one? Is this the, or is that one? Yeah. Oh, no, thank you. Okay. So we were brought on in 2018, 2019, before everything kind of closed down, to sit with the library and come up with a master plan of what their existing conditions were and what, based on staff input and what they were hearing from the community, what your needs are for this library. And as you can see, from where we were in 2007, almost triple the amount of visitors that come to this library every year. So, as libraries have developed over the last 15 to 20 years, they've not become so much a place for books to be stored, but for a place for a community center, for people to meet, share ideas, exchange information, and do other things like, you may have a yoga class. You may come in here for a meeting for, art display. We're talking about an art club that can come in. Multiple functions that can happen within a library, along with access to information. And how is that information accessed? Several ways are, traditional books. You come in, you meet with the librarian, I need something on this subject, and they'll put you in touch with it. But also, as the internet has grown and gone in different directions, how do I get to that information? And the information that's factual, not information that's just posted out there. And libraries help serve that purpose also now. Again, like we were saying, there's several things that are here, but along with the DVDs, the books, there's a need for more program space here. In some of the later slides, you'll see this space being used, but being actually used and with the children's library. So this wall opens up and it was filled. It's the capacity and it doesn't really meet the need of what the community needs. Also more quiet and quiet study space. Smaller meeting rooms that can serve for a group from 2 people up to 6 to 8 people within the library. A separate children's and YA library. So the YA right now currently shares it with the children's library, who shares it with this meeting room. All right. So it means they have to move shelving around, reconfigure the space continually, where it's not really advantageous. It'd be more to have a dedicated space for each one of those functions, so each one of those groups can come in and sit down and have a place to stay. More access to current technology. Again, as technology changes, not everybody has access to the current and most advanced technology, but this can be a place where you can come to and access the technology that you may not have. A computer, a laptop, or a tablet, some types of those things. And again, as we've seen with COVID, a lot of libraries came to us afterwards to say, what can we do to make our buildings healthier? So it's twofold. One is we want to be a healthy space within the space, and then we can do that with lighting, we can do that with HVAC systems, and also, as this building gets built, how can we be environmentally friendly? Not building a building that's taking a lot of resources that are coming from overseas or out in California. Keep things localized within a certain radius, and those different systems that we can use LED lighting, we can use PV panels. In some cases, you can introduce some small wind turbines to help offset the costs of your carbon footprint here, and along with building materials that, in many ways, can help be recycled to your flooring, ceiling tiles. Those types of things are recycled elements that we can use to bring back into the building. As we were talking, this is one of the images that we were talking about. This was a meeting that was held, I think, about a year ago or so.
About a year ago, yeah.
And as you can see, it's filled. It's, there's really no room for circulation around there. You're pretty tight in here. And along with the low ceiling heights, as we're speaking here, you've got the projection here. We need a little bit more ceiling height for a large meeting room. Even though this is an existing condition, it's made the best use of the space. But right now, it's not ideal for what the community needs. And as you can see, storage spaces, how some of the places are organized. There's a better way to do this. And right now, this is what the library is able to work with, and this is how they have to work. due to the conditions. Technology, all right. Years ago, yes, we used to design these large banks of computers, and there was these large monitors and all these stations that were set up. With the advent of where we are today, a laptop can sit for about 2 hours. A tablet, probably even more than that. And the idea here is that we may have 1 or 2 fixed locations for computers, but you may come into a kiosk and take that laptop or that tablet, and then you can sit anywhere in the library and use that technology instead of dedicating so much square footage to one specific function. All right, and that opens us up again into the idea of multi-function for the space. Instead of it being dedicated to one function, I can take that function, I can move it anywhere within the library and do what I need to do with that technology element. And inefficient and support working spaces, like we were discussing, there's 3 different programmatic elements happening right in Terry's office. We have the IT, we have Terry, we're doing passports in there, we have support pieces within a very small space. We have a circulation desk that's not designed for its current needs, and other storage spaces within the building that are just not really set up for you. So as we've taken all this information in and looked at what your existing building was after we analyzed that, we've come back to the library and to you to see, what is one approach. And Todd Harvey's not here today, but Chris Sepp myself. Park East is also our other partner in this, or team member. And beyond what my role as an architect is to design and put things together to make a package that responds to your work needs. Derek can elaborate on what their role will be here for this group.
Sure. Good morning. Thank you for having us today. This slide kind of outlines what Park East provides as services throughout the course of a project. Today I'm only going to go through the first half because that's really what's relevant before the bond gets passed. So starting, we verify the program budget. We work with your architect, we work with the library, and we go through the schematic plans. We take into consideration location. Shelter Island is a very unique location, so we've reached out to a lot of contractors who have done work on the island to learn about the aspects of getting material to an island, getting concrete, getting asphalt, and the costs associated with that. So we really took a deep dive to not only take into consideration the plans that were developed by Beatty Harvey, but also your unique location. We also took into consideration that this work isn't going to occur for maybe about a year, so we added escalation and inflation. So all of those items were calculated into the development of the budget for this program. In addition to the budget, we attend public and workshop meetings. So for the past 8 months or so, we've been meeting with the library many times, going through needs, sitting and hearing the design options, and we've been budgeting along the way. We come to workshop meetings like today to give updates, and if this project does move forward, we offer monthly updates throughout the construction process, where we give updates of where we are and where we project to be the following months. Value-added options. So we would look at different materials that could be utilized, where you get the same outcome, but maybe they're less expensive, different ways to build, the phasing of it. How do we keep this library operational during construction? The less amount of phases, the less expensive a project is. So we're looking at all those different options to find the best value, how to build this the most economical way. Constructability analysis. We walk through the building, we look above the ceiling, we look at the connection points for the new additions. Make sure there's less unforeseens once we get into construction. It's much better to identify anything that's maybe out of the norm prior to having contractors on board and flush those out before to avoid change orders during the construction process. So we take that very, very important. And then lastly, for today, the project master schedule. So we'll create several schedules. The first schedule will just be an idea how long will this project take, depending upon the phases associated with it. And as we dive deeper into the process, we would create further schedules and get more and more detailed. And by the end of it, we would have a very detailed schedule that would not only show the start and the end dates, but how we got there, show the concrete footings going in, the building being constructed, roofing, and really down to the minute details. And that really kind of summarizes, what we are doing and what we plan to do for the next couple months, hopefully.
And really put this all together for everyone to say, from day one to the day you get the key to open up the new building, this is the team that helps develop that. We're thinking through what we have for the library, what the library needs, and then all the fine details that go along with that. Scheduling the contractors, looking and working together as far as constructability issues. Are there any things here on site that prevent us from building a certain way? Or are there other resources that are more local that we can take a look at, alternative construction needs that are friendly and also budgetarily friendly, but not in a sense where we're going to reduce the quality of what this building would be. All right. We want to make sure it's the right cost, the right building, and it's a building that's going to last the next 30, 40, 50 years. Okay. Just an introduction on some of the work we've done in the past. Beatty Harvey has done, excess of 250 libraries over the last 30 to 35 years. Todd Harvey, the principal, couldn't make it today, and I have been working together. I've been with the firm for 27 years, working as one of my specific charges of working on libraries. So we have quite a depth of different things all over the place, and in different styles. I see some here from Rogers, which is local, Cold Spring, Cherry Hill in New Jersey, and then depending on the building, its location, we design the library to suit that community correctly, suit the building correctly. So we're able to accommodate different styles of buildings here. So let's get to the first floor plan. As we said before, the building is going to increase to roughly 10,000 square feet and change. And as you can see here, just as an overall footprint, the yellow portion here, that's your existing building. This building will remain in its current shape, but all the interior spaces are going to be renovated. All right, and what you see over here in blue is roughly a new 4,400 square foot addition to this existing building. So what we've done is, with input from the library and the community, we talked about the entry to your building. And currently, when people come into the library, if I'm at the front door, someone all the way at the back can hear me, just acoustics-wise. Two, it's also one of the noisier places in the library. When you come in, your active spaces where you have a circulation desk. People are going in, they're going to grab their DVDs, they're going to discuss items with, Terry in her office or other things. And it's a place where I depart from and then go into the library. But there's really no separation there. So as we come in, we would have a lobby. You could locate our DVD collection, some of the more noisy elements like the copier, and our offices up there so that the staff are really accessible to all patrons. One of the comments that has come back is a small cafe for patrons. There's nothing really local here. If somebody wants to come in and doesn't stop on the way and want to just have a cup of coffee or a muffin or something that they could sit down and do their studies with. The other portion is to develop that entry on the north side of the building a little bit more. This is kind of this nice ceremonial entrance. It also serves as your accessible entrance to your library. But over here, for a more direct route, we can come in here and emphasize that as sort of a secondary entrance to your library. And within this, we would then separate out your elevator, your stairs, the more noisy section from the quieter adult library on this floor. Right now we're proposing what would be a glass wall, so visually we have a nice connection across the space with a door here that would slide back and forth very quietly and attenuate the noise from the front of the library going back. And we get into this area here where we would have more traditional type reading tables, but for 1 or 2 people. So we find that when you have a 4 or a 6 person tabletop, usually only 1 person sits there. No one really wants to join them with it. So lately we've been providing tables that are just 1 to 2 people to sit at. Some table lamps, and then as we get further in, you get even quieter. There could be a fireplace lounge over here. There could be a fireplace in the center with 2 large windows looking out over the field. Another large window kind of opening, letting some northern light into the building, looking that way. And then an area to accommodate your current book collection on the main floor. And we move down to the lower level. So, as we were saying, there's really no separation here. Oh, let me go back to the main level again, I'm sorry. One of the other items the library requested was access to small meeting rooms, all right? Where we have a small one here that could accommodate 6 to 8 people with reconfigurable furniture. It doesn't have to be a table set in place, it could be on wheels, they fold up. If you need to have a small discussion in a circle, you could set it up that way. 2 quiet study spaces up here. So even though the library is getting quieter as you move in, we also have some small study rooms for 1 to 2 people. Someone may come in and, a college student or, high school student may come into the building and say, I just need a place to disconnect, put my headphones on, go in there and do what I got to do for several hours. And that's a need that's really expressed in not only your library, but in many libraries today. So down on the lower level, and we had taken this existing library and created 2 distinctly separate spaces now for the children's component and also YA. And right now this children's library would occupy this space. We would open up this wall and go south. In effect, almost a thirding additional space for your children's library. Sharing in the center a program room, right? So this could accommodate roughly 18 to 20 children at a time, or parents in a table seating environment, or if you want to just have a reading program in there. But a program room that's just a little bit smaller, has finishes where kids can do art projects, or maybe it's just a story time story that you need. The neat thing about this, though, is it can be shared with YA. While these 2 things are going on, if children's doesn't need this room, YA could run a program in here. That room also, flexible enough, during the day while they're in school and adult patrons are here, they could use that for a program also. It's available to them. It could be a driver's ed class, or wherever you get your credits down and points on your license, you can go take that class in there if needed. And then as we open up the library down here, we're creating this sort of small gallery that could help house and put artwork more out in the public space instead of having to walk back into your meeting room. It also serves as your connector here and a step down right now to get the ceiling height to be a little bit higher for your lower level and keep the first floor the same. We need to push the floor down. So we'll introduce some steps, a small lift for accessibility, and then create this nice large meeting room over here to the west of your building. Purpose of that room can be used for any function. Right? Similar to this here, we can do that and then also divide that room in half. So instead of 1 meeting room, you could have 2 separate programs going on at once within that space. Gallery, again, for that space being used as an interstitial intermission space, and also opening out where we would take and extend the outdoor terrace down there. So for programs that happen during the summertime, maybe there's a component that actually happens out on those terraces out there also. Or if it's in between programs, somebody can just go out there and spend some time at a small table, read a book after they've gone to the cafe and got their coffee and muffin. And then just some support spaces sitting up here on the north side of that new addition. The other part we want to do is introduce, by excavating out and not removing any trees on site, the ability to bring this down along the face of the building and introduce windows down here. Even though this is at a lower level, we don't want it to feel like a lower level in the new building. We want to bring in sunlight so that you come down here, it's not like I'm in the basement, right? So bringing in a lot of natural sunlight, having the glass here and here, sharing windows that already exist on the south side of the building, bringing in some nice natural sunlight there also. And from when you look from above, so you can see really how it goes on site. This is your existing building here, the little cruciform building that you have there now, and this is where addition goes. Currently, there is 102 feet from where the new building would be over to where their property line is. So we have that nice grass field out there. We don't want to change the grass field, all right? We want to minimize the impact of what we're doing to the site here. So engineering this around, we have these two large trees. We don't want to undermine those. We want to keep those trees there. A large tree on the south side here. And then in the same fashion that we've done before, a little bit more structured, still keep the circulation around the library with a long driveway in the back, or parking up here, and just some slight improvements for accessible parking down there to get to the meeting rooms. The idea here is that the grass area, as you use it now, becomes a land banked area for parking. So in the event you have a large program on site here, and you need more parking, then the area, the field next door can be used as a temporary parking area, but it's not driven on all the time. So that area still maintains its grass, it's still a field, all right? And then, not to say this is the end, but these are our ideas coming to you based on the plans that we've developed. This is a section or a perspective looking from the northwest at the corner of the new addition. Still, we would want to carry on your brick, but introduce maybe some elements within the facades. So it's kind of traditional, but has some maybe flair of more modern elements to it, but not to make it where it's this hugely contemporary space. Outdoor, looking at what our new plaza could be, having some glass down at that lower level again, making sunlight flow into the lower meeting rooms and the gallery to make this an inviting space down on the lower level. And just some more head-on shots of that area and what the north face of the building could look like with the new addition. All right, so I don't know if we want to go to that or if there's any questions at this time. Yes.
The doors, is there going to be access to the meeting room, the large meeting room from the street?
Yes, yes, we have it set up so that you could have doors directly into the large meeting room if you need it from the street.
I've talked to Terry about the fact that your meeting room shape I'm not very happy with, because I don't want to be sitting right in the back and having the person speaking way up there.
Okay.
And Terry was suggesting, she's talked to already
Yes.
about it, back here. The cupboards that
Mhm.
you've got in the big room, if they can face the other way, because the gallery space, why can't the gallery be in the meeting space and make the meeting room wider, not narrower?
Yeah.
Because a long meeting room, it doesn't make it. You can't see, you can't hear.
Right.
There's no access to the person speaking, like there is in this room.
Right, right. And I think we have discussed it, and it's something that we have noted. It's not in this go-around of plans, I mean, more, again, to create that dialogue of your input, we're giving that to us. So we are going to develop that further, how that room sits within the space. So we'll look at different configurations to at least allow how that separates, or at least the point where someone might be presenting from, so it's not 60 feet back from where you're sitting.
Is it going to be elevated where the speaker is going to be?
We can. There's been some options. We could create a stage that's permanent. Some libraries choose to keep it flat and store a mobile stage to allow an elevated area. Again, on the multifunction end is that we can recover that space when someone doesn't need a stage necessarily, but we can create an elevated area in several different ways. Yes, sir.
So, a very good presentation, I really like it, it looks wonderful.
Thank you.
But there's no bathroom upstairs, and when you're in the cafe, if you want to bring your coffee and donut outside, you have to go downstairs to do that?
I mean, you could walk around the outside, there's an
You
elevator.
could, but you couldn't
upstairs.
just from right there get to the outdoor space.
Right, no, not.
That's okay.
Yeah.
And then, there's no bathroom upstairs?
There is still a bathroom,
Where it is
up
right now.
here, currently where it is now. We're just
I
gonna
see, okay.
configure it.
I
So
just
it
didn't see it,
open
I'm
into
sorry.
that.
Yeah.
That's fine, no, I mean, Ryan, you asked the question, I can answer it. Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted to be the first to say, but somebody beat me to it, that there's an incredible sort of richness in the plan in terms of so many program elements being accomplished within our current library in a relatively modest addition. It's just, yeah, as an architect, it's wonderful to see, and it's also wonderful to see a team that includes construction management within the design phase, so that you have that dialogue to not only create something that's wonderful, but achieve it in an efficient manner. So I also wanted to move on to one comment that you already mentioned, but I guess I wanted to sort of emphasize it, because we are an island community, we're in an environmentally sensitive area, and this is likely to be our first public building that has sustainable design incorporated within it.
Right.
And without taking anything away, this is always the challenge of the architect, you have to be a magician, but without taking away from program elements, I would really like to see sustainability as a feature of this building, so that you come in and you learn that lesson from the building itself about environment and how environmentally friendly design helps not only the environment, but contributes to the health of the community and the individuals that are within the building. So I might go so far as to say, if we could follow a recognized template such as the U.S. Green Council, leadership in energy and environmental design, again, without taking away from resource or precious resources to accomplish the library function. It would be a nice additional to have element within the project.
Yeah, and if I didn't elaborate on it enough, it is, just as a practice for architecture, we're always looking at those green aspects. We feel it's important, right? We're building, what the percentage is, contributes the most to the carbon development of what goes on in the world, right, for greenhouse gases. And as much as we can reduce that, we will explore. Even, to the extent that we may go down the path of looking at what LEED credits there are, but maybe not make it a LEED building and go through that process. We do want to introduce things, like I mentioned, the solar panels. In several projects we've done, it's become a learning tool, as we've also put up displays within there. So there may be the information display in the library that is telling you about current programs, what's going on in the library, but also telling you what the library is doing, the building's doing. So here's how much power we've produced, here's how much we've saved, here's what that affects. So those types of programs can also be a learning element, especially for children that are kind of coming up in this, and it's really their future that we're thinking about, environmentally, to see how that can be done with the building. So it is very important to us, and I know Derek is on the same page with that. We've worked on several projects together, at least to see how we can make that happen within feasible constraints for architecture. So thank you for that. Yes, sir.
This is going back to the last meeting room. I have directed like half a dozen play readings in this room. And so my questions about that long meeting room Do you know how many seating, how much seating it would allow, number-wise?
We had programmed that space to be about 100.
100, okay. And how much higher would the ceilings be than this room?
Well, this ceiling is probably about, I'd say 8'6". We would want the other room to be at least 10 feet. 9'6" to 10 feet, push that.
Because, as was already mentioned, ideally you would have some kind of riser for people, but in this room, then you'd be hitting 10 on the ceiling. So that would be important. The other thing about that room is it looks like it's almost completely lit Sunday room. Is there a plan to darken it for when you want a darkened room?
Yes, you know, we're at this stage just diagrammatically looking at that. We may have introduced some windows that need to be rethought in a fashion of how we do darken it. So it's whether it's a darkening window or a window treatment, or the windows disappear in some locations to make sure that that area is dark enough for the program. So especially if we're doing, you know, if a film is going to be shown in there, yeah, we can have light spilling.
And that's the only advantage of this room, is it?
Everything else, right? So,
There's a question back here.
yes. Oh, this one.
Is the upstairs lavatory handicapped accessible?
Yes.
What about downstairs?
Yes.
How about the bathroom in the children's library?
They will all
Changing
be
table included, because we have a lot of young mothers there with their children.
right. All as they're laid out right now, since they're going to be single occupancy toilets, so anybody can use them. They will all be accessible. All give you the proper turning radiuses, approaches to the items within there. Let me look. Down here, actually, we're showing that baby changing table right there. So it is something that we do want to include within the program.
Because it is well known.
Yes.
And perhaps in the children's library area, you know, they've got their Legos, they've got their race cars and everything else. You might want to make some facility, if they wish, for like a little bit of slop sink. So if the kids are painting and whatnot, they can wash their hands off without having to use the bathroom and tie it up, because we all know how much they like to play in the water.
Oh, yeah. Yes, and I think with the intent of that program room, we typically have a sink in that area, right? And it's usually down in the lower height.
Oh,
We
okay.
could have two sinks in there, if need be, one for
No,
versus
when they're
running
bathing
and
each
one
other.
to wash. But yes, we want to make it so you can clean up that space. It is meant to be if you drop some paint on the floor, it can be easily removed from
Thank
that,
you.
not carpeting.
Yeah, not surprisingly, I want to focus a little on the gallery. Beautiful presentation, by the way. How wide is that current gallery space, and is that a movable wall into the divisible large meeting room? Because we, you know, arguably are in it's still about storytelling and books and words, but we're in a rising visual culture.
Right.
Like it or not, and I'm very much part of that and love that there is a designated gallery space, but it looks kind of small, and I know that even the pieces I'm looking at now, if I were too close up, you can't really see in a hallway. Is it a hallway, or how big is that?
Right now, that's the space there is roughly 12 to 14 feet wide.
Oh, I think, see, I don't know how to read a blueprint very
No,
well.
it can be deceiving. I mean, there's no dimensions on here. You know, roughly 30 to 35 feet in that direction. So it's not a huge space, but a nice space to allow you to really stand back from something.
Yeah, and do you have any idea of pieces? Because some are windows and some are entranceways. I'm just curious, trying to get an idea about it. And I liked whoever was on the front row who said something about maybe being able to move that, you know, kind of make that large meeting room. Not that art has to take over the whole space, of course, I love that. But
Yes. Get the art in the divisible meeting room.
No, it is important, and you know, so.
Yeah, they have a lot of art shows here. It's very traditional.
Yeah, and tie it to the books. You know, we often tie it to storytelling and things going on, like the play at our school right now where all the kids are involved, or Peter Wallner's 8th grade exhibit right here. So I'm just I would ask to even be involved in those details as we get into that, but it looks great. How many, do you have any idea how
many pieces we could put in there?
I mean.
Not offhand, right? I mean, if we would look at any of the sort of blank walls and we could install, a picture hanging system. It could exist there, it could exist here. It also could exist like you have it now within the meeting room if you have a large enough group of pieces. So it's flexible enough. We may not be able to, there is sunlight and doors going in and out in location, but we'll try to optimize that as much as possible. And also, even if it's a freestanding piece in the center, it may not need to just be on the wall. So
right, yeah, kind of the mobility of that space and the technology of interacting with sound and other things to the art sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, well, thanks. It looks great, and look forward to seeing how it progresses.
Thank you.
You can't help but kind of build on that comment. I can see possibilities. I don't know whether this was originally intended, but it may grow out of this conversation, is that the gallery and the divisible large meeting room can work together for a large exhibit. And what might be required to sort of augment that functionality would be, in addition to, you've got ample, it looks like you've got great storage in the building, but also to have sort of a movable wall system within the visible large meeting room, so that you can maximize hanging space.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Within that, so you could see that gallery and meeting room working together to house a really wonderful exhibit for a time period until it gets thrown out for other activities or displaced, I should say.
And maybe the new wall space would provide other art hanging throughout the whole library.
You can. I mean, it's something to look at.
Where would the screen go, logically?
In the divisible room, maybe at this point for the larger space, maybe at the ends for the smaller rooms. Right, but this is where you can take the windows out and and that's what I'm getting today. Is we've had several comments on this meeting room, on the gallery, and so that's telling me that we're going to look at that again, minus what Terry and I have also discussed previously here. But again, the dialogue is great, so that we can understand.
Yeah, but I mean, you can make windows black, right, by some sort of shading or automatic shading or whatever. Yeah. So then you got better of both worlds.
Yes.
It's the left side, I'm interjecting, sorry, but still on that same gallery thing a little. Is the left side, are those all windows going out to the grass on the very far left? That's all windows.
It's showing us something, yeah.
So that wouldn't be a place where anything would, that would just be windows, just clarifying.
It doesn't have to be.
It could be maybe off and on, or.
Maybe these windows here simply go away. Or maybe there's just maybe 3 of them within the space. They're allowing the light to drip in, but the main function of that space is to be a darkened space.
One of the things we can do is after the yes vote and everybody approves this, is we can have another couple of meetings where we say we bring in the artists for one meeting, we bring in the directors and the actors for one meeting, and we talk about what's going to work best, because you're the people that use this room, you're the people that use the gallery. So this is an idea. It shows you the space, but it's definitely not set in stone, and we're completely open to comments and changes. So I said to my Chris's behalf.
How long does it take? I mean, is there a big downtime? Will it be like 2 years where we won't have a library and then it's done?
No.
How does it work?
Derek, but no, it wouldn't be like that.
We spoke about leaving the library open throughout the majority, if not the whole project, to
I see. So it'll just be under construction?
Well, there's a multitude of ways to do it. We could isolate the existing from the new, build a new addition first, let the library take use of that, and then flip-flop and renovate this space.
I see.
That was one consideration. I think we might have spoke about maybe a period of time some trailers. So the intent is to let the library function throughout construction with limited shutdown. Some things are unavoidable, power upgrades and stuff of that nature, but it would be limited.
And I know it's hard to estimate, but that would be like 2 years or something, or?
We're estimating 15 to 16 months.
I see.
From the day we put the shovel in the ground.
Correct.
Right.
I just want to amplify the comment that was made, because I think we just heard one of the best answers possible under the circumstances, and that is you build the new space first if all other conditions are conducive to that, and then you have a larger amount of space to phase other components of the project into. So that was, that was in terms of best practice, absolutely the strongest answer we could have heard from the consultants.
Chris, this gentleman had a.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of engineering questions on this. I noticed all your toilets on the north side of the building and the septic system is on the south. Maybe you would like to reverse that to save some money in the septic waste systems?
I mean, at least in the engineering of things, we already have most of the plumbing in here, and we have our septic down
We
here.
have 2 new ones going in.
And 2 new ones over there, yeah.
Upstairs there.
Yeah.
So there's 3 new, I mean, that's quite a run down to the septic location
I think,
in the south.
yeah. I mean, I think we can do it if we needed to. We can, if the engineering can't get it to flow at a correct invert, pitch. We can introduce a pump if need be, to
That's
do
all
that.
cost items, and the length of piping, pumping, and all that can add to the cost of the project.
No, I think, we do want to take that into consideration, and as this moves forward and upon a successful vote, we'll be bringing in our engineering team, our structural team. So that dialogue even goes further at that point, to talk about how efficiently can we do this. So their input is also going to help do some, it's going to be great in the sense that they're going to help us plan maybe some items that we're not thinking about in that plan respect. I mean, we do it here on their input. There's always things that are going to change.
Will there be now a basement or crawl space underneath the entire project?
No, I mean, we would maintain the slab.
Yeah.
We don't want to excavate underneath. It would be costly, but at least bringing down, the new addition to a lower elevation for that floor, so that to increase our slab height. Ductwork allows us to easily feed it through the space.
When do you intend to get the engineers involved?
I'm sorry?
The engineering
Right.
people involved.
When do you expect to get them involved?
All right, I think once we have a vote and it passes, we're meeting with the library, and within a month or so, we're bringing those teams in to start putting this together. Because we have to hit the ground running at that point. We have a certain amount of months that we're going to have to develop plans so that Derek can get this thing out and get it into construction, permitting and all that stuff. So that really starts the clock ticking.
What type of fire suppression system do you intend to put in this building?
We would most likely, you don't have it now, but sprinklers would go in as part of this. You have a sprinkler system.
And that's another major cost.
Yeah.
And our budget is what, 9.5 million now?
Mm-hmm.
That's the next slide.
That's yeah. But I mean, the inside of that budget, that's in there. All of the work that's going to go on for fire sprinklers, for electrical, for mechanical, finishes, concrete, structural, all within the budget that Derek has put together. We've gone back and reviewed it a couple of times, and it's a cost, but it's a life safety thing that you just do. So we'll be doing that as part of the project. You have a question over there?
Okay. Could you just point out, I'm very familiar with these plans in this building, on the downstairs slide, is being referred to where the water is currently and the sewer. So up in that corner where the new YA library is,
right.
There's a bathroom and a kitchen in there now.
Mm-hmm.
So the toilets that are going in actually back up onto the common is really
While we're on that slide, I've worked in public libraries for 25 years, and so I just love children's rooms, and it seems like there's a lot of attention to the adult side, but if you could just add some kind of whimsical something that makes children feel when they're coming in, like this is a special space.
Yes.
The adult space feels like really powerful, lovely, but I want the children when they come in to feel like wow, this is our space.
Yes, you know, and it is something that each one of these spaces, the adult space does not want to look like children's and vice versa. But yes, the children's library, we have a team in-house that's going to look at all those types of finishes. To the extent that we brought in a Broadway scene, designer on one project, and they designed an entrance and books that came out of the wall for that. So yes, we are thinking of those types of things to make the whimsical space and also say, hey, this is my space.
And if I can add, many libraries also recruit teens, and children as kind of advisors at this, when the process is ready to move forward. So they have their input to their space. They're really designing it themselves. And we've gotten, over the past year, we've been soliciting input from people. We've gotten an amazing number of requests and ideas from the children who use our space, including little cars that run around the aquarium and all kinds of things.
Those bean bags, we can do the bean bags.
Right, we can do bean bags. So the intent is to really involve all the younger users in the development and decorating of this space, so they do feel that it's theirs.
Am I missing?
Just real quick, this will be a loaded question that everybody's debating in terms of education and everything, but internet, connectivity. I remember even 25 years ago working at the World Trade Center, we had media tables where all the plugs were in the center and it was all designed. Of course, the minute this gets designed, everything will go wireless, but I'm wondering how you're thinking about that. And also, as for children's learning, I'm not sure where we are between having a dumpster where you put your cell phone away when you come in to read, or do you integrate that, or that gets into the larger library educators. But I'm just wondering how you're thinking about that.
The technology overall, it keeps on changing. Am I going to be able to predict 5 years from now? No, but the things that have kind of remained constant from an architectural standpoint is Wi-Fi is almost the mainstay, right, for that.
Yeah.
So for people bringing in devices, I don't need to plug in for Wi-Fi, for connectivity to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, power, like you say, we'll talk with the library if there's a place to charge your phone. Some of these tables that we have there may just have a simple outlet. So you bring in your device, you plug in, and you're good. The power is probably the most important thing, getting that around and making that available. So the use of phones within it, we'll have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
But we do want, like we were discussing before, not necessarily taking up real estate in the library with fixed technology.
Yeah.
But allowing the space to let technology flow through and go anywhere within the library itself.
Yeah, that's nice.
Anyone else? Yes.
I think one, with the charging issue, we are also planning, maybe outside have a couple of charging, because, maybe it's more of the cost.
Yes. Yes, we can introduce EV charging stations. Yes.
We're thinking of it.
Building on the comment about technology, one of the things that I've seen in practice and have done in buildings is to introduce some monitors with the technology that, with supervision, those monitors can be used for a variety of purposes. For to bring material that might not be found in books to that screen surface, and also to have potentially the ability for young adults and adults to, I'll say, post their content to a screen. It's a double-edged sword. You have to have procedures in place to make certain that the content is appropriate, but can it be in a kind of another?
Yeah, I think that's a level of how you implement that, and yes, having monitors throughout the spaces. We find that again, collaboration is a big item within libraries. So yes, putting, hey, this is my stuff, this is what I'm bringing to the table.
I'm gonna, because we've been here for an hour, I wanna move along to Derek's slide, the money slides, and the all that information. Thank you all for the really great questions, and I can't wait till we get a yes vote and we get to like really start playing with this. And I just turned the AC on, so hopefully it'll cool down a little bit. Sorry, it's a little bit stuffy in here.
Okay, you're up there.
Okay, so our team, we have an estimating department at Park East. They took the drawings developed by Beatty, Harvey, Coco. They took the latest construction numbers. We're constantly bidding projects, libraries, fire departments. So we have real-time numbers. It was broken down, and this is a very simplistic view. The numbers that created these numbers, there's probably 100 line items to get to these numbers. So it was broken down by general construction. They would be doing the site work, the asphalt, the concrete, the structure, and then the finishes, the floors, the ceilings. Then you have a plumbing contractor, HVAC contractor, which does your heating, ventilation, air conditioning, electrical contractor, took into consideration loose furniture and millwork throughout the entire library. Added in general conditions, that's for their site supervision, staging, dumpsters, and all of those things. Some contingency for unforeseen items. If we dig a hole and find an old oil tank, there's some money set aside. Open up a wall, find asbestos or lead that has to be taken care of. There's a small pot of money associated with that. And then, again, with this project, likely going to be built 8 months or so from now, we took into consideration escalation. So the total cost for all of those is $7.6 million. Added to that is the architecture and engineering fees, the construction manager fees, and other soft costs, which are your attorney fees, any special testing, like as this building gets built, there's material testing requirements. They test the compaction of the soils, they test the strength of the concrete, they test the density of the asphalt. So all those type of tests, attorney fees, permit fees are all in that soft cost, totaling $1.9 million for a total project cost up to $9.5 million.
So what we did was we talked to the town assessor and kind of said, if we are able to get financing, and we're looking at financing from state bonding or a traditional mortgage, we're just exploring things right now. If we get some sort of 30-year financing at a very, I think, kind of conservative 6%, what would it cost you? And so this breaks it down per the assessed value of your home, cost per year and cost per month. And so I think you can see that over a longer period, it's not going to be too painful for the taxpayer. It's based on the complete project budget of $9.5 million. And obviously, we really hope to get grants. We hope to get pledges before the vote and raise money after the vote. We're already well along with that. We have some money that we've put away over the years, so we have a little bit of pool to start with, to start paying for some of these costs up front. So just wanted people to know we want to be transparent and let you know how this is going to affect you. So if you have any questions about either the cost or the, yes, Julie.
So my question is, if you would explain, why is it that the voters have to approve the full amount if you anticipate getting money otherwise? I know it's a mechanism of state law, but can you explain what the idea behind it is?
If we don't go for the full amount and we had to spend more and we couldn't raise the money, although that's what we intend to do, we'd have to go back for another referendum. And we don't want to do that. We want this to be one and done. This is what it's going to cost, and this is what is how this is going to affect you. We don't want to have any surprises down the road.
We should point out that in what's been kind of the quiet phase so far, we already have pledges of $300,000, which is in the past 3 to 4 weeks, which is pretty amazing. So we hope that with a positive vote on June 17th, we can We'll certainly apply for state construction grants during the 2 or 3 years of the project, and we'll do a full-on fundraising effort.
I'm already in support.
Okay.
But I really want to kick the tires and make certain that we have no surprises. What are the thoughts with regard to the operational costs of this facility? And has that been, I'll say, kind of cooked into the fabric of this project?
Facility and I'll talk about the staffing.
Okay.
So from an operational standpoint, you've got a building here, it's 60 years old, even though there's been some upgrades made throughout. When we go through this, it's going to get gutted, everything's going to come out, right? We're going to put in brand new stuff. And what we found is that when you wind up in the new building, your cost to operate outside of the staff component is relatively the same because you've got very efficient systems being put into your building. So whatever change there is negligible. So if you're, say you're spending, for argument's sake, $9,500 a year on HVAC, electric, water, right? Maybe in the new building you'd be spending $10,000 a year. So it seems like it should be more, it should be double because you got double the size building, but it really isn't. When you think about what's going into the new building and ultimately those systems as they layer on top of the efficiencies that go with it. So we do not anticipate that your operating building budget is going to go up extensively. Right?
And as for staffing, the way this is designed, we probably have to hire one part-time person just to man the YA room in the afternoons. The way it's set up, the way it's designed, the downstairs, there's a sight line through from the children's to the YA. So really some person can supervise both unless there's a ton of kids in there, in which case you need a body. But other than that, a lot of this is space for you all. It's space for you to have quiet places. It's space for the kids to be separated, but it's not space that requires additional staff.
Yeah, I think if we look at the ratio of what staff space and back of house space versus patron space, we're somewhere in the 10 to 15 in this building for staff compared to what the patrons are getting out of it. We've had those conversations, some of the, we'll have smaller offices, but the idea is that all of this is benefiting the patrons.
Hey, Terry?
Last,
In your handout, you said that this is a 2.7% tax increase. Is that another slide you have?
I don't think I put that on that slide, but I believe that's what if I remember correctly, that's what the assessor gave us.
New York State has a tax cap on it. You can't go above 2% raising taxes in every town.
Right.
So this would be a 2.7% tax increase in addition to the 2% tax. So that's 4.7%. So my question is, how come this proposal hasn't been discussed by representatives at the town board?
Because we're not connected to the town.
But you're funded 70% by the taxes, is that correct?
No,
Okay,
this is Jo-Ann's expertise.
Thank you for asking this question, because this is...
Well, I'm voting no.
Okay.
I think this is a good program, I think it's wonderful, I use the library, but taxation without representation is tyranny. Remember that from American history? This is a great program, Terry's a good friend, I like all you people, the artists, all these people. However, this is the wrong mechanism.
Okay, well, we have nothing to do with the town board. We are what is known as an association library, which means that we are a separate 501c3 organization, and please jump in if you chartered by the state of New York. We are like the fire district, like the school district, empowered to go to the taxpayers to request funds, which is what we do every October. We present our budget to you. You come to the library, this room, and you vote yay or nay on our annual operating budget. The same mechanism would apply on the June 17th vote. We would have set up a vote here. You would come and vote on this referendum. We have absolutely nothing to do with the town board. We are not part of the town budget. The taxation without representation, anybody who is a library card holder is a member of the Shelter Island Public Library Association, and you always have a voice. You can come to any of our board meetings, our annual meeting in January. You come and vote on our annual budget, which is how you certainly express your
I voted
feelings.
yes on it.
I'm delighted to hear that. But we have absolutely nothing to do with the town board, just like the school doesn't have anything to do with the town board. We are a separate and distinct charitable organization.
And if you notice on official documents, this unit is called the Shelter Island Public Library Society.
Right.
It's not the Shelter Island Public Library. It's the society, which is an expression of what Jo-Ann just said.
Can I just add something?
Sure.
I live in Woodhaven, Queens, and so I have a Queensborough Public Library card. And the Woodhaven Library is the last Carnegie Library that was built in New York City. So Carnegie was a baron who was a very bad guy, a union buster and all that.
He did good things for libraries.
But he did good things. But the last library he built was in Woodhaven. And there's a little plaque that says, this is the last Carnegie Library. So this would be a great, if we can find some sugar daddy.
Well, we're looking.
Isn't there somebody out there?
Yes, believe us, we are looking, and if any of you have any leads on, but if you have leads on a sugar daddy or sugar mama, we would love to hear it. But to your other point about the New York, every time I've been reading over the past couple of months about New York City libraries, it makes me want to cry, because New York City libraries are city public libraries. The library budgets there are at the whims of the city council. We are so blessed that we are not part of the town government. We are a separate, so the people who use us vote on whether they want us to, what they want us to do every year.
I get that.
Okay, but I'm glad you asked that question.
Will you put that in the reporter? Because it would be great to, you should say estimate, but it should be in the reporter before the vote.
And Julia did a great breakdown on the Gazette. So there's a really good article in the Gazette about this that breaks everything down.
Just that
Julie's right
alone,
here, so we're going to see. So I'm sure we'll see an article in the reporter. So yeah, we definitely. Since the beginning, we wanted everybody to be aware of what we're doing. When we knew what we knew, we told you. When we got the amount, we told you. We're not. We really want this to be transparent and have everybody be able to ask their questions. A couple people raised their hand. Yeah.
I've seen a pretty diverse team in terms of resources. Is there a professional fundraising consultant that has been engaged?
We have been looking at that. They're very expensive.
They are very expensive.
We're loath to spend that kind of money, but we are looking at all kinds of options in that area.
Maybe there's a possibility of reaching out to resources within.
It's kind of a catch-22 because we hate to spend that money until we get the yes vote, and then maybe we don't get the yes vote unless we have the money. So it's one of these.
I will say that we are happy to hand out pledge forms to anyone who would like one today before you leave.
They're in my office. Come see me.
And you've made a very compelling case for the importance of this library to the community and what it will be able to do in the future. But I wonder if you could help us benchmark our current library situation in relationship to other comparable communities. Where do we fall in relationship to other communities? Are we, I'll use the term laggards in terms of library facilities? Are we in the middle of
facilities?
Yes.
I'm going to defer to the longtime former director of the Greenport Public Library.
The Floyd Memorial.
Yep, right, Floyd Memorial. Lisa Richland.
So, for years, as I was increasing the use and the budget and the size of the library in Greenport, I would look at my home library, Shelter Island, and say, "Oh God, I could spend twice as much in my taxes as I'm doing now for that library," because this library has, as far as I'm concerned, has been operating on a shoestring. The shoestring's getting longer, but it's been operating on a shoestring, and it's, for a library director going to meetings with other library directors and talking about our home libraries, it was a little embarrassing to have to say, well, Yes, the Shelter Island Library is really, it's a nice, small library, but it's been underfunded. And the board of the library has been very conservative in asking for public support. And so something like this that's going to increase my taxes is something that I'm saying finally, because you can't run an efficient organization if you don't have enough money. I mean, there are efficiencies from being small, but it reaches a point where you're not doing your job and you're not serving the community, and the library is for the public. So, you know, that's my take on this. And I've already made my pledge, and I encourage each one of you to make a pledge. And when we did the addition in Greenport, we took pledges from $5 to $10,000 to $25,000, and each one was equally valuable. So don't feel that because you can only pledge $25 or $100 or however much you can, that makes a difference. It makes a difference in the way the library board and staff feel about public support.
And I'm really pleased to say we do have 100% board support in terms of pledges. So we know our whole board, all 13 of them are on the side of this project. And I think, except for Fisher's Island and what's the one, Wading River?
Wading River.
Wading River, we probably have the smallest budget in Suffolk County.
Yeah, and taxes only cover 80%.
No, Beatty Hollow.
Beatty Hollow.
Yeah.
Taxes only cover 80% of our operating costs, the rest of which comes from fundraising, grants, et cetera.
I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn, but it seems like if it's $12 or $8 or $9 a month, that doesn't seem like a lot. I mean, do you think people would be adverse to that?
Well, people, you know, there's always people that don't want to pay more, and I get it. People are on fixed incomes, and even, you know, $15 a month can be difficult, and I understand that. But I think if you use the library, you come here and you get a vaccination, you take out some, every time you take out a book, it tells you how much money you saved at the bottom of the receipt. You know, if you come here and save a trip off the island to get your passport, that saves you whatever amount of money just right then. So I think that if you use our services, it more than makes up for the amount of money that you're going to be paying. And I hope, you know, we have pretty active use of this library. I think a lot of the people on the island do use this library. So for one thing or another, a program or a materials, or, you know, printing out their tags, copying the tax forms.
And this assessment would be for, I know it's an estimate, but it would be for anyone, whether they use the library or not.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
Just like the school.
So that's something, you know.
Just like the school.
Just like the school, just like the fire department.
Just like the school. And I think that just this table alone, just as simple as it is there, and even though it's an estimate, would be a great thing to put in the reporter, with a few pictures, you know.
But also what Terry just said, like what you get at the library that you don't always think about.
Right.
You know?
Right. So,
Pluses.
yeah, so I think we've given you, oh, Joe, yes.
I'd like to just make one comment, and that goes back to the first slide that you presented.
Thank you, Joel.
And that is, in the last 15 years, library transactions have exceeded 90,000 transactions a year. And that's going from a base of, the number was 2015.
So we count people that come in and out of the door. So in 2015, I think, what was it, 17? I don't remember how much it was.
15,000 something.
Yeah, so.
And it's now 90,000, and you're dealing with a 60-year-old facility.
So even if it's kids coming in and out a couple of times, it's still exponentially more than it was in 2015. Yeah, so.
And that, I think that really tells the story of where the library has come, where it's going, and where it needs to go.
Yeah. I did also want to tell you that one of those pictures of one of the closets, this closet is where our tech guy has his office. In the closet, sitting next to the tables. I can open the door and show.
One last sort of programmatic response, going back to design within the building. the library serves this sort of function. We're an island, and we lack resources. We don't have, I guess, FedEx. We have FedEx delivery, but we don't have the resources of a business center. And the library fulfills the function of, if you have to print something, 11 by 17, if you have to do printing, this is the place. So going back to the design issues, if we could maybe try and find a way to expand the functionality within that
I
area.
think we have a little business center design in the design, don't we?
Yeah.
And near the front door,
Yeah,
there's
to the
like a
front door, I
little
can come
shut-off
in.
business center.
It's hard to present
You know.
all the things that you cook into a
So
plan. but-
that was something we talked about, and it is,
Good.
we know that we're the place to come, and you'll have a
You've saved me.
stapler
place to
and
go get,
paper clips and
You've
things.
saved me many times in the past.
Yeah.
Well, we've kept you an awful long time, so,
Thank you very much.
We have some homemade goodies by the wonderful Henry Fain and some ugly scones by Terry Lucas, so please take them with you.
Oh, and t-shirts.
And t-shirts and
Any of you
pens
have
and swag back there.
grandchildren or great-grandchildren, we have onesies.
The wonderful Mary
Joanne, how do
Kleiner.
you pay for these? Is it check or?
Oh, these are free.
These are free.
Just make your pledge.
Make a
Oh,
pledge.
that, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.